A cloud of suspicion surrounds the deaths of Oscar-winning actor Gene Hackman and his wife, whose bodies were found in their Santa Fe home. No one had seen the couple for days, and authorities say they had been dead for some time.
It began with an absence. For several days, no one had heard from Gene Hackman or his wife. Calls went unanswered. Staff never showed up. The estate, known for operating with precision, had gone completely still. When investigators arrived, they were expecting a routine outcome. An elderly couple living in isolation, possibly having passed away without notice. Tragic, but not unusual. Inside that assumption initially held. 2 bodies located. No obvious signs of forced entry. Early observations aligned with natural causes.
The cause of death for Mr. Gene Hackman, aged 95 years, is hypertensive and atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, with Alzheimer's disease as a significant contributory factor.
But as officers moved through the house, small inconsistencies began to surface. The space felt unsettled, as though something had taken place that hadn't been accounted for. Then, during a secondary search, investigators found it. A concealed entry point, deliberately hidden, integrated into the structure in a way that suggested long-term planning. Behind it was a passage. And with that discovery, the investigation shifted.
This investigation started on February 26th with the discovery of Mr. Hackman and Miss Arakawa and their dog at the residence.
The fortress above. To understand what investigators found underground, you first have to understand what stood above it. This wasn't just a private residence. It was a controlled environment. The estate sat deep within forested land outside Santa Fe, cut off from everything around it. Security was layered, motion sensors, thermal imaging, constant surveillance. Every entry point monitored, every movement tracked. Staff weren't just hired, they were vetted, restricted, and bound by strict agreements. Over decades, not a single one publicly spoke about what happened inside those walls. That kind of silence is almost impossible unless it's enforced. Inside, the property told a different story. Rare artwork, antique furniture, curated and almost museum-like. But beneath that surface were signs of disruption. Furniture slightly out of place. Books rearranged incorrectly. A safe left open. Not random disturbances, focused ones. The hidden descent. The entrance didn't reveal itself easily. Built to disappear completely into the architecture, without knowing exactly where to look, you could stand there forever and never notice it. But once triggered, the illusion broke. Behind the wall, a narrow passage. Stone steps descending straight into darkness. No light, no airflow, no sound from above. As investigators moved down, the atmosphere shifted immediately. Temperature dropped. The air grew heavier, damp enough to cling to the skin. Every step felt like a separation from the world they had just left. Then halfway down, the walls changed. The markings no one could explain. At first it looked like texture, natural wear, aging stone. But it wasn't. As light hit the surfaces directly, patterns became clear. Some resembled alchemical symbols. Others looked like technical diagrams, structured in ways that suggested function rather than art. They didn't belong to any single, identifiable system, which made them more unsettling. Too deliberate to dismiss. Too unfamiliar to understand. One technician later described them quietly as engineering from nowhere. A structure older than the house. As the descent continued, the tunnel began telling its own story. Near the entrance, everything felt relatively modern. Mid-20th century construction methods, maintained and protected. But deeper down, that consistency disappeared. Walls became rougher, more carvings, different tools. This wasn't one project. It was multiple phases layered over time. Experts reviewing the structure reached a conclusion that shifted everything. The original tunnel predated the house. Hackman didn't create it. He found it. And for reasons no one fully understands, he chose to preserve it. The chamber below. At the bottom, the passage opened into a chamber. Crates lined the edges, some intact, others collapsed. Papers, objects, and fragments of things that didn't belong to any single era had spilled out, as if collected rather than created in one moment. Among them were photographs. One, dated 1937, showed a group standing around a table covered in maps. On the back was a single word, written in a language that still hasn't been identified. Nearby, leather-bound files, some partially burned, as if someone had tried to destroy them but stopped midway. Pages referenced names that had been redacted, events absent from official records. And the floor. From above, the patterns became clear. Star maps matching real celestial configurations. Planetary paths, constellations, orbital positions. Whoever carved them wasn't guessing. They knew exactly what they were doing. The objects that didn't belong. Among the crates were tools and devices that didn't fit any clear timeline. No markings, no branding, nothing to suggest where or when they came from. One object drew particular attention. A small metal cylinder that didn't look manufactured. It looked formed. Experts struggled to place it within known capabilities. Even today, replicating something like that isn't straightforward. Not what it was that unsettled them, but when it should have been possible. The ground beneath Santa Fe. The location only deepened the mystery. Just a short distance away lies Los Alamos, where the atomic bomb was developed, where decades of classified work shaped modern history. Beneath that region are underground systems, facilities built during the Cold War, some documented, many not. The materials in parts of the tunnel, particularly the steel, matched construction methods used in high-security government installations from the mid-1900s. That kind of reinforcement isn't used casually. It's used when something needs to be protected or contained. The neighbors who knew something was wrong. For years, nearby residents sensed something was off. At night, there were vibrations, not loud enough to hear distinctly, but strong enough to register physically. A low, steady hum that didn't match anything natural. One neighbor described it as something industrial, buried deep underground. A local geologist went further. He recorded it, measured it. What he found didn't match any known geological pattern. It was rhythmic, mechanical, almost scheduled. There were other details. Unmarked vehicles arriving late at night, leaving before sunrise. Former staff who left the estate and cut all ties completely. Phones disconnected, online presence erased. One housekeeper had reportedly told a friend she had seen something she wasn't supposed to. Within a month, she was gone. At the time, these were just stories. Now they feel like pieces of something much bigger. The sealed door. Deep within the chamber, beyond the crates and scattered evidence, investigators found it. An iron door embedded directly into the rock. No visible hinges, no external handle. Just a solid surface, worn and corroded with time. Sealed from the inside. This wasn't a barrier to keep people out. It was a barrier to keep something in. Since that discovery, nothing. No official explanation. No leaks. No speculation from inside the investigation. Just silence. And silence like that doesn't happen without a reason. The man who protected the secret. What makes all of this harder to process is the man at the center of it. By every account, Gene Hackman wasn't distant by nature. He was warm, engaged, the kind of person who remembered small details and actually cared about people. So the question becomes unavoidable. Why build a life surrounded by surveillance, isolation, and absolute control? And why return to that tunnel near the end? The entrance had been used recently. At 95 years old, he went back down there. And now, he's gone. The only person who fully understood what was beneath that estate is no longer here to explain it. Which leaves one question hanging over everything. What could be so serious that even now no one is willing to say what they found? Drop your theory below.